Begin tonight in Dallas County, where detectives are investigating the death of a mother and her little boy.
Seagoville police were called to a welfare check last week when relatives couldn't get in contact with them, and officers found the mother and son both unresponsive inside their home.
Janelle Ford just spoke with some of their neighbors and joins us live in Seagoville with what she's learned.
Well, Chris and Izzy, overall, this is just a very sad situation. The neighbors tell me that the mother and son were found dead in the garage of this home. You can see where someone's come and placed flowers out front. And tonight, investigators are working to learn exactly what happened.
First, you hear the screams. Then moments later, you see the first responders. They're heading 2 doors down to this home where 27-year-old Lyric Backus and her 7-year-old son Deuce were found dead in the garage.
On February 9th, 2024, in Segoville, Texas, a small town southeast of Dallas, a neighbor hears a scream around 8 a.m. Police arrive quickly, taping off a street near a single-story home. A surveillance camera from a nearby house records officers moving in and out, with neighbors gathering and crying. Inside the home's garage, 2 people are found dead. Lyric Backus, a 27-year-old hairstylist, and her 7-year-old son, Deuce. It's Lyric's birthday. Family members told news outlets they believe carbon monoxide poisoning caused their deaths, but police haven't confirmed this. What happened in that garage? This is Dark Truth Files, a channel dedicated to true crime stories told with respect. And today, we're covering the case of Lyric Backus and Deuce, a mother and son whose deaths have left their communities searching for answers. A neighbor, Diane Loggins, described the scene in news outlets as chaotic, with people screaming and police everywhere. The surveillance footage he mentioned hasn't been released publicly, but it captured the aftermath. Investigators are waiting for autopsy results to determine the cause of death. Was this an accident, or is there more to know? We're diving into this case to understand what happened and honor Lyric and Deuce. Before we start, please subscribe to Dark Truth Files and comment below where you're watching from. Your support helps us keep telling these stories. Let's get into it. Who were Lyric and Deuce, and why is their loss hit so hard?
Dallas County detectives are investigating the death of a mother and her little boy. Seagoville police found Lyric Backus and her 7-year-old son Deuce dead in the garage last week. Home surveillance cameras captured the chaos. Deuce was a first grader in Seagoville. Backus was a social media influencer. She had a clothing boutique and tens of thousands of followers. Family believes the pair died from carbon monoxide poisoning. Police are waiting on autopsies before confirming.
It was just mayhem. Everybody out here crying, screaming. The cops was out here, they taped it off. I was concerned about the little boy, like, is he at school? Like, 'cause I know him and my daughter go to school right here.
Deuce was a first grader at Seagoville North Elementary. Monday, the school sent this letter home to parents, saying in part, "We extend our love and sympathy to their family at this time, and that they will have counselors on campus to help students and staff cope."
Where the little boy at, I was like, oh, once I heard he was gone, that's what it hit me the most. I was like, oh, wow. Like, he was just out here playing with my son, about a week ago.
Now Loggins is trying to figure out how to give his little boy the news.
It's just hard for me to have a 3-year-old son and have to tell him how he lost his first friend.
Friday was Lyric's birthday. She was a social media influencer. She had a clothing boutique and tens of thousands of followers. And across social media, tributes are pouring in, mourning her death.
Lyric Backus was more than just a name in the headlines. She was a daughter, a sister, a friend, and above all, a devoted mother. Born and raised in the Dallas area, Lyric grew up with a spark that drew people to her. Friends describe her as a burst of sunshine, her laughter filling rooms, her kindness leaving lasting impressions. She had a way of making everyone feel seen, whether it was through a quick smile at the grocery store or a heartfelt message to a follower online. In her 27 years, Lyric built a life that radiated ambition and love, even through challenges. Lyric's early years weren't always easy. Growing up in a working-class neighborhood, she faced the struggles of a tight budget and the pressure to carve out her own path. But she was a dreamer. As a teenager, she'd spend hours sketching designs for clothes, dreaming of a future where she could create something beautiful. That dream became reality when she launched her own clothing boutique, a small online business that showcased her bold sense of style. Her Instagram and TikTok pages were a canvas of her life. Vibrant outfits, motivational quotes, and glimpses of her greatest joy, her son, Deuce. Deuce Backus, just 7 years old, was a heartbeat of Lyric's life. Born in 2016, he was a whirlwind of energy, with a toothy grin that could melt anyone's heart. Neighbors in Seagoville, a quiet suburb southeast of Dallas, often saw Deuce racing around on his bike, his giggles echoing down the street. He loved superheroes, especially Spider-Man, and would spend hours drawing his own comic book adventures. At school, teachers adored his curiosity. He was a kid who asked a million questions, always eager to learn something new. Lyric and Deuce were inseparable. She called him her little king, and their bond was evident in every post she shared. One video, still viewable on her social media, shows Deuce dancing in the living room, Lyric cheering him on, her voice bright with pride. "That's my boy," she laughs as he spins, arms flailing. It's a moment that captures their love, a mother and son who face the world together. Their connection is a shield against life's hardships. By 2024, Lyric had become a rising star in the world of social media. With thousands of followers, she was known for her authenticity. She didn't just post glamorous photos. She shared the real stuff, late nights working on her boutique, juggling mom life, and the occasional tearful post about the pressures of doing it all. Her followers loved her for it. She was like a friend you never met. One commenter wrote after her passing, "She made you feel like you could do anything." Lyric's boutique was her pride and joy, a testament to her hustle. She'd stay up late packing orders, designing new pieces, and responding to customers. It wasn't just a business. It was her way of proving to herself and to Deuce that dreams could come true with hard work. She often spoke about wanting to give Deuce a better life, one where he could chase his own dreams without the struggles she'd faced. In Segoville, Lyric and Deuce were fixtures in their tight-knit neighborhood. They lived in a modest single-story home on a quiet street, the kind of place where neighbors wave and kids play in the front yards. Lyric was the one who'd organize impromptu barbecues, her music blasting as she handed out plates of food. Deuce would be right there, running around with other kids, his laughter a constant soundtrack. They were the kind of people who made this place feel like home, a neighbor later told reporters. But beneath the surface, Lyric carried the weight of being a single mom. Friends say she sometimes felt overwhelmed, balancing her business, parenting, and the expectations of her growing online presence. Still, she never let it dim her light. She'd post about her faith, her love for her son, and her belief that every day was a chance to start fresh. On February 8, 2024, she shared a post that now feels haunting. A photo of her and Deuce smiling with the caption, "Tomorrow's my birthday and I'm ready for a new chapter." February 9th, 2024, started like any other winter morning in Seagoville. A cold front had swept through North Texas, blanketing the area in icy winds and freezing drizzle. Lyric Backus woke up to celebrate her 28th birthday, a milestone she'd been excited about for weeks. She posted a quick selfie on Instagram, her hair styled in loose waves, her smile radiant. 28 and feeling great, she wrote. Grateful for my little man and all of you. The day was meant to be special. Lyric had plans to celebrate with friends, maybe grab dinner or hit a local spot to mark the occasion. Deuce was with her. As always, his school likely closed due to the winter storm that had gripped Texas. The storm, part of a larger weather system that caused power outages across the state, turned the day gray and bitter. Roads were slick, and many residents stayed indoors, hunkering down against the cold. Details of Lyric's movements that day are pieced together from family statements, neighbor counts, and police reports. Around mid-morning, Lyric and Deuce were seen at their home. A neighbor, Diane Loggins, later recalled seeing Lyric's car in the driveway, its lights on as if she just pulled in or was about to leave. The garage door was open, a common sight in the neighborhood when someone was coming or going. Lyric had been in touch with friends, texting about her birthday plans. One friend mentioned she seemed upbeat, talking about a new dress she designed for her boutique. There's no indication she was distressed or that anything was amiss. Deuce, too, was his usual self, likely playing or watching cartoons while Lyric got ready for the evening. Sometime in the late afternoon, Lyric and Deuce returned home. The exact time is unclear, but investigators believe it was between 4 o'clock and 6 p.m. The winter storm had worsened, with temperatures dropping into the 20s and power flickering in parts of Seagoville. Lyric's car, a dark sedan, was parked in the garage, a space that, like many in older Texas homes, was small and poorly ventilated. Here's where the story takes a devastating turn. According to family members, Lyric likely left the car running in the garage, possibly keep warm or charge a device during the storm-related power issues. The garage door, now closed, trapped the exhaust fumes. Carbon monoxide, a colorless, odorless gas, began to build up. It's a silent killer, undetectable without a specialized alarm, and most homes in Texas, including Lyric's, didn't have one. The state doesn't mandate carbon monoxide detectors, a fact that would later spark outrage among advocates. Lyric and Deuce were inside the car, perhaps waiting out the cold or distracted by a phone call or social media. The gas would have worked quickly. Carbon monoxide binds to hemoglobin in the blood, starving the body of oxygen. Symptoms: dizziness, nausea, confusion, can mimic tiredness or intoxication, lulling victims into a false sense of normalcy. Within minutes, they may have felt sleepy, unaware of the danger. By the time anyone realized something was wrong, it was too late. Around 8 a.m. the next morning, February 10th, a family member arrived at Lyric's home, concerned after not hearing from her. The storm had eased, but the air was still heavy with frost. They found the garage door closed and the car still running. Inside, Lyric and Deuce were unresponsive. The family member's screams alerted neighbors, and Diane Loggins' surveillance camera captured the chaos as first responders arrived. "It was ma'am," Loggins later told news outlets. "Everybody out here crying and screaming." Paramedics confirmed the worst. Lyric Backus, 27, and Deuce Backus, 7, were dead. The scene was cordoned off, yellow tape stretching across the driveway. Investigators noted the car's engine, still warm, and the lack of ventilation in the garage. The family immediately suspected carbon monoxide poisoning, a theory police wouldn't confirm until autopsies were completed. As word spread, Seagoville was enveloped in grief. Neighbors gathered outside Lyric's home, leaving flowers and Spider-Man toys for Deuce. Online, Lyric's followers flooded her social media with tributes. "This can't be real," one wrote. "You were supposed to have so many more birthdays." The storm, the garage, the running car, it all seemed so ordinary, yet it led to an unthinkable tragedy. In true crime, we often look for a villain, a person, a motive, a deliberate act. But the deaths of Lyric and Deuce Backus challenged that narrative. There were no suspects in the traditional sense, no shadowy figure lurking in the background. The leading theory, supported by family and investigators, points to carbon monoxide poisoning from a running car in a closed garage. Yet, As the case unfolded, questions emerged that added layers of complexity. Could there be more to this story than a tragic accident? The most straightforward explanation is also the most heartbreaking: an accident caused by a lack of awareness. Carbon monoxide poisoning claims hundreds of lives annually in the U.S., often in scenarios just like this. Cars left running in enclosed spaces, especially during extreme weather. Texas, with its lax regulations on carbon monoxide detectors, has seen its share of such tragedies. In 2021, a winter storm led to a spike in poisonings as families used cars or generators to stay warm during power outages. Lyric's case seemed to fit this pattern. A cold night, a storm, a moment of oversight. Investigators found no signs of foul play. The car was in good condition, with no evidence of tampering. The garage door was functional, suggesting it was closed intentionally, perhaps to shield the car from the storm. Lyric's phone, found in the car, showed recent activity, texts and social media posts, indicating she was alert before the poisoning took hold. Deuce, likely asleep or playing, would have been even more vulnerable to the gas's effects due to his smaller size. But not everyone was convinced it was that simple. Online discussions, particularly on platforms like Lipstick Alley, buzzed with speculation. Some commenters suggested Lyric might have been under the influence, pointing to her birthday celebration as a possible factor. She was out partying, then drove home and left the car running? That doesn't add up, one user wrote. The theory posits that Lyric, perhaps impaired after drinking, returned home, pulled into the garage, and fell asleep or became disoriented, failing to turn off the engine. This idea gained traction because of the timeline. Lyric had driven home safely, opened the garage, parked, and closed the door, actions that require some level of awareness. Critics of the intoxication theory argue that carbon monoxide itself could explain her failure to exit the car. The gas can cause confusion and lethargy, mimicking intoxication. Without autopsy results, which police were still awaiting at the time of the last reports, this remains unconfirmed speculation. No official statements from family or investigators support the claim that Lyric was drunk. If there's a villain in this story, some point to a broader culprit: systemic failures. Texas's lack of mandatory carbon monoxide detectors in homes is a glaring oversight, especially in a state prone to power outages during storms. Advocates argue that a $20 detector could have saved Lyric and Deuce. The absence of public education campaigns about the dangers of running cars in garages also came under scrutiny. This isn't just about one family, a community organizer told reporters. It's about a state that doesn't prioritize safety. Unlike most true crime cases, motive is an essential question here. If it was an accident, the why lies in a moment of human error, compounded by environmental factors. If intoxication played a role, it might suggest negligence, but even that feels reductive. Lyric's love for Deuce was undeniable. She wasn't someone who'd knowingly put him in harm's way. The real question isn't motive but awareness. Did Lyric know the risks of a running car in a closed garage? Did anyone in her community? As investigators combed through the scene, one detail stood out: Lyric's phone. It was unlocked with a half-typed message in her notes app, never sent. What was she trying to say? And why didn't she make out of the car? These questions linger, pulling us deeper into a case that feels both solved and maddeningly unresolved. Stay with me, because what comes next might change how you see this tragedy. The discovery of Lyric's phone added a haunting layer to the investigation. Found on the passenger seat, it was still powered on, its screen glowing faintly in the dim garage. In her notes app, investigators found a partially written message. "I'm so sorry, I didn't mean..." The sentence trailed off unfinished. Was it confession? An apology for something unrelated? Or simply a random thought cut short by the gas's effects? The ambiguity fueled online speculation, with some theorizing it was a cry for help, while others believed it was meaningless, a product of her fading consciousness. By mid-February 2024, the Seagoville Police Department was still awaiting autopsy results to confirm carbon monoxide poisoning. The delay frustrated the family. who wanted closure and sparked criticism from the community. Why is it taking so long to tell us what we already know? A relative posted online. The lack of official confirmation left room for rumors, including the intoxication theory, to flourish. News outlets reported on the family's grief, with headlines emphasizing the tragedy's preventability. Social media played a dual role. Lyric's followers turned her pages into virtual memorials, sharing memories and calling for a carbon monoxide awareness. But darker corners of the internet dissected her final hours, with some accusing her of negligence. How do you not know about carbon monoxide? One commenter asked. Others defended her, pointing out the lack of education and resources in many communities. The debate highlighted a divide, those who saw Lyric as a victim of circumstance versus those who questioned her decisions. The investigation also shed light on a troubling trend. In 2024, Texas saw a spike in carbon monoxide poisonings, especially after storms like the one that hit Seagoville. A Texas Tribune report noted that power outages following Hurricane Beryl later that year led to 2 deaths and nearly 400 hospitalizations from carbon monoxide exposure. Lyric and Deuce's case wasn't isolated. It was part of a systemic issue, one that advocates argued could be mitigated with better regulations and public awareness. In Segoville, the tragedy galvanized action. Neighbors launched a fundraiser for Lyric's family, raising thousands to cover funeral costs. A local church held a vigil, where attendees lit candles and shared stories of Lyric's kindness and Deuce's infectious energy. "We lost 2 beautiful souls," the pastor said, "but their light will guide us to do better." Some residents began pushing for citywide carbon monoxide detector distribution, a movement that gained traction in Dallas County. The biggest twist in this case isn't a new suspect or a hidden motive. It's the realization that this tragedy could happen to anyone. The investigation revealed no malice, no conspiracy, just a series of small, human choices in a system that failed to protect. But that unsent message on Lyric's phone keeps us wondering, what was she trying to say? And could those words hold the key to understanding her final moments? As of August 2025, the deaths of Lyric and Deuce Backus remain officially under investigation, though carbon monoxide poisoning is widely accepted as the cause. Autopsy results, still pending in early 2024, have not been publicly released, leaving some questions unanswered. The Seagoville Police Department has stayed tight-lipped, citing the ongoing nature of the case. For the family, the wait for closure is agonizing, but they've channeled their grief into advocacy, pushing for mandatory carbon monoxide detectors in Texas homes. The community continues to mourn. Lyric's boutique website remains online, a digital time capsule of her dreams. Deuce's school created a scholarship in his name, honoring his love of learning. Online, their story lives on, with followers sharing posts calling for systemic change. Lyric Backus was a woman who lived boldly, loved fiercely, and dreamed big. She was a mother who poured her heart into her son, a friend who lifted others up, and an entrepreneur who inspired thousands. Deuce was a light, a boy whose laughter could brighten the darkest day, whose curiosity promised a future full of possibilities. Their lives were cut short, but their impact endures in every memory shared, every candle lit, every call for change. This case isn't about pointing fingers. It's about learning from a tragedy that didn't have to happen. It's about remembering a mother and son who deserve more time, more birthdays, more laughter. And it's about asking ourselves, how many more lives will be lost before we act? What do you think happened in that garage on February 9th, 2024? Was it a tragic accident, or is there more to the story? And what can we do to prevent another loss like this? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and let's keep this conversation going. If this story touched you, hit that like button, subscribe to Dark Truth Files, and share this video to spread awareness. Together, we can honor Lyric and Deuce by ensuring their story saves lives.